Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris here, and I wanted to address a question that I get way more than you might expect. And this is a question that I get from friends, family, all of that sort of stuff, especially now as we're approaching the holidays. But the question is this: my child is interested in an Xbox. Which one should I get? So what I'm going to do, really briefly, I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, is just kind of outline the different options you've got. And really, there are just two at this point with Xbox. I wouldn't even think about the Xbox One. I don't even know that Xbox is still manufacturing that actively. You could probably track one down at a GameStop, but don't even think about that. It really comes down to the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X. So, for context, I have two children. I have a 12-year-old boy and an 8-year-old boy. They love playing video games. They're more sort of in line with Nintendo Switch. They enjoy doing that. They do a little bit of PC gaming, but they do like using my Xbox every once in a while. And actually, I have both the Series S and the Series X. I have the Series S up here in sort of my office game room. The Series X is more of sort of the living room family console, and I'll talk about why that is. But let's look at these two options a little more deeply. So the Series X is the system that a lot of people spring for when they want maximum graphical horsepower. So it's really, I think, now the most powerful console on the market. I mean, the PS5 is sort of right there with it, but in terms of raw graphical power, the Series X is where it's at. And the Series X actually has a disk drive, right? So if you like watching Blu-ray movies, 4K Blu-ray, any of that kind of stuff, it can play those movies. However, I would say in today's day and age, most people are streaming, and that's not really the major consideration that it might have been, eras ago when different game systems were being released. The thing with the Series X is that it does have more storage, right? More internal storage. So even if you buy a physical disc, you still have to install the game on the system. It's kind of a crazy thing that exists with game consoles these days. But anyway, it has 1 terabyte of storage. Now, the main thing to consider with the Series X is that it is $499. It's basically $500. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't know that it's the right option for 90% of people. If you're someone like me who, is playing things like Modern Warfare 2, the newest Call of Duty game, things like A Plague Tale, things that are going to require a little more graphical heft, then obviously the Series X is a thing that you want to sort of go after because you want sort of the resolution, all the different features like ray tracing, all that kind of stuff that are being offered with a lot of the modern games these days, because the Series X can do that heavy lift. However, the Series S is no slouch, and I would recommend, again, that for most people, especially most younger children, so we're talking, and I'm just sort of guesstimating here, but I would say if your child is 10, 11 years old or younger, the Series S really is the way to go. Now, when you look at the Series S on paper, there are a couple of things there that might give some people pause. One of those things is that the storage is not nearly as much as the Series X. So the internal storage, I think it's 512 gigabytes, around 500 gigabytes, something like that. That can be a little bit worrisome depending on the size of game files that you're downloading, right? However, again, if you've got a younger child, they're likely going to be playing things like Minecraft. They're likely going to be playing things like Fall Guys, maybe even Minecraft Dungeons, maybe the odd sports game here and there. The sports games might take up a little more memory, but things like Minecraft, etc., they're not going to break the bank when it comes to internal storage, and you don't have to worry about that quite as much. The other thing with the Series S is that, in my opinion, it is a way more affordably priced console for what you're getting. So typically it's $299, but there are a lot of places that have this on sale right now. This is November 2022, but it's on sale as we sort of get closer to Black Friday for $249, I believe it is. And really, at that price, the Series S is an absolute steal. I think personally, again, I think for most people, the Series S is the way to go. And if you've got a child that is a little bit younger and isn't going to be playing a lot of the M-rated games, a lot of which, have that more sort of graphical heft associated with them, you might need or want the Series X for those types of games. If you have a younger child, the Series S, in my opinion, really is the way to go. I think another consideration too here is Game Pass. So no matter whether you get the Series X or the Series S, Game Pass is a great option for people. Again, however, I wouldn't really recommend that for younger people because a lot of the great titles that are on there are M-rated titles, and you're not really going to want your younger child to be playing those. However, there is a nice thing about Xbox where you can customize some family settings, right? So you can sort of tier off the games, and that's T-I-E-R, right? Tier off the games so that if your child is younger and you don't want them playing certain types of titles, you can sort of curate what they're able to download based on that. Another great thing about the Series S is that it's not nearly as big physically as a console, and that obviously is not really a major thing to think about potentially, but the Series S is tiny. I mean, if you really see it in person, it's, I can put my hand on top of it and it's a little bit bigger than my hand. It's actually shockingly small when you see it, which is kind of nice, if you want to put it behind a TV, wherever it might go in your entertainment center or even in your kid's room for whatever reason, it's not going to take up a ton of space. And really, even though I've been talking about the Series X having all this graphical horsepower, and that's really sort of the go-to choice for gamers that really want to have everything maxed out and have the best gaming experience visually that they can have, the Series S is no slouch. It does pretty much everything that the Series X does. It's got a feature called Quick Resume, which means that when you turn the console off, if you go back to a game that has that as a feature, it just instantly picks right back up. Load times on both systems are minimal. They both use what's called an SSD architecture, a velocity architecture that Xbox has customized. It makes games load super quickly, which is awesome. Another thing to note, I talked about resolution a little bit. The Series X is going to output at 4K resolution if you have a 4K supported TV or monitor. The Series S aims for 1080p or 1440p, depending on the games, and I think it can upscale to 4K. That's a little bit of a gray area, but I'm telling you, I've got both a Series X and a Series S. I play games on both of them, just depending on the game, whether or not I want to play it, when I'm upstairs and I have a break from work, that kind of thing. They really are comparable graphically. Now, the Series X is going to look a little bit better with some games, but I would say it's not so noticeable for the most part that it's shocking. They really are similarly spec'd out types of systems. So generally speaking, and this is sort of my holistic recommendation, I think the Series S is the way to go for most people. If you have an older kid, right? So let's say a teenager or someone that's, just going into their teen years, maybe even later in high school, and they want a Series X, there are some justifications for getting that one also, right? I mean, they're, maybe able to play mature titles depending on what you're okay or not okay with at that point. But, again, for most people, I really think the Series S is the way to go. But anyway, if you're doing any holiday shopping and you have questions about that, certainly let me know down in the comments below. I'm actually going to do a similar video here within the next day or two about the Nintendo Switch, because really you've got two options with that now too. You've got the Switch OLED model and the Switch Lite. There may be the standard original Switch kind of floating around out there. I think that one's becoming much more rare to sort of track down. But anyway, if you do have any questions about the console hunt as you sort of get into holiday shopping and all of that, I've been through it. But just let me know down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.